Hey everybody, this is David from Dream Home Arcades again. I just wanted to show you quickly how to hook up a steering wheel and configure it here in a simple game. I just have the steering wheel hooked up to one of our test units here. This is a machine that's getting finished up, but it's not quite done yet, so if you see holes and missing parts, it's because it's still coming together. But I just clamped the steering wheel, clamps right on the front of the panel for these 4 players. Our 2-player panels get steering wheels that have suction cups on the bottom that fit right over the top of the trackball. The 4-player panels have a little bit more room and stick out a little bit more in the front, so they can utilize the clamp-on ones, but either wheel works just fine. They stay in place real well, and the pedals just plug right into the wheel itself. I have them sitting right in front of the cabinet there, so literally you can take them on and off in about 10 seconds. Plug right into a port right in the front. This one doesn't have that port in it yet, so you can see the wire running across the panel there, but I just wanted to hook it up and show you how to configure it here in one of the games, so our customers that do have wheels or customers that will be ordering machines with wheels can easily set them up just by taking a look at this tutorial. It's also in our manual, but as usual, it's much easier to see someone do it than it is to try to read it and then implement it. So I'm just going to run through that quick here. Got the wheel hooked up and ready to go. I'm just going to go into a simple game here to configure, and that's pole position. Pole position is a good one to start out on just to get your bearings because it only has a shift function and it only has the gas and the brake pedal. No special nitrous buttons or anything like that. So this same video applies whether or not you're configuring any other more complicated driving game, but I figured I'd start with pole position here. So I'm going to get it back on that. Goes into a screensaver here, but I'm just going to arrow back up to pole position and load it up here, and I'll show you how to configure the wheel. So once the game loads up, we're going to get into our in-game menu, and we're going to do that by holding down the 1-player start and pushing right on the 1-player joystick. Now we're going to go down to input this game. Now this only applies to this game. If you go into input general, you're setting settings for everything on the machine. So most times you're going to go into input this game if you just want to customize that single game. So I'm going to go in there, hit the 3rd button on the 2nd player, which is our enter button, and we're going to go down to where it says gear change here, because I want to set that up first just to use the paddle shifters on the wheel itself. So if I go ahead and I highlight that and I clear it out, I'm going to go ahead and push the paddle shifter here on the right, and it's going to come up and it's going to assign that. The steering wheel just comes up as a joystick in our systems. It's an analog joystick, just the same as you would with an analog joystick that you'd play other games with, but the steering wheel is the same type of controller. We're going to go down to where it says pedal 1 analog, and pedal 1 is always the gas pedal, pedal 2 is always the brake pedal, at least everything I've ever seen. We're going to go ahead and clear that out, and we're just going to push the gas pedal down. And you can't see that, but I'm just pushing the gas pedal down on the floor here on the pedals, and it's going to input our Y-axis there. And then we're going to go to pedal 1 decrease. Now you got to imagine that if we want to decrease pedal 1, we're actually going to be pushing the brake pedal. So I'm going to go ahead and clear that out. I'm going to push the brake pedal down, and it's going to assign that to down. Doesn't really matter, but as long as it has an input there. Then we're going to go to pedal 1 analog increase, and that's of course when we push the gas pedal down, it's going to increase it. So we want to clear that out, and we want to push the gas pedal. And you'll see it says joy 1 up. Okay, now pedal 2 analog, we're going to enter that in as a function. So we're going to push the brake pedal. Pedal 2 is always the brake pedal. And we're going to go to pedal 2 analog decrease. So that means when I want to increase the brake pedal, I'm going to push the gas pedal. So I'm going to push that down here after clearing it out. And then I'm going to arrow down to pedal 2 analog increase. So when I want to increase the brake pedal, I'm going to clear that out and I'm going to push the brake pedal. Okay, now our dial analog is actually what controls the game, the steering wheel. So we're going to highlight that, clear it out, and we're just going to move the wheel to the right or to the left just slightly. And it's going to come up with our x-axis. So basically the x-axis controls the steering, the y-axis is our pedals. Alright, and for the dial analog decrease and increase, you don't have to enter anything there. It automatically sets that up. So I'm going to go return to prior menu, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to analog controls. Now analog controls in analog type games, you won't find these in Pac-Man and Frogger and anything that uses just digital control. But analog control applies to games that use an analog function, whether it's steering, whether it's shooting, just about anything that uses a trackball, the spinner, or the steering wheel here. So what I want to do, the 2 things that are interesting to me here are going to be the dial reverse. Now if you're controlling a game where you want the steering wheel to do the opposite, opposite direction that you're going to turn it. So if I turn it to the right, it's going to go to the left. Say if you're playing like a flight simulator or something like that, you might want to set that up. But what we're looking for is the dial sensitivity here. Now you can see it's set to 3, and this is a scale from 0 to 100. But because most of our steering wheels are very sensitive, we usually keep this down in the 2 to 3 to 4 range. And you can play with it. If it's too sensitive, turn it down. If it's overly if it's not sensitive enough, turn it up. So and just changing it a few numbers. So if I change it from 3 to 6 is going to make it twice as sensitive. So we're going to start at 3 here, which is pretty much the factory defaults. And another one that might be interesting to you is the dial digital speed. And all this does is the game reads this steering wheel and where it's setting at every 10 times a second. Now, if you turn this up even higher, it's going to make it more sensitive. You turn it down real low, it's only going to read it, say 5 times a second or 20 times, whatever you set it at. Really doesn't make that much of a difference. The one we're really concerned about is the sensitivity. But if you do want to play with the digital speed, you can do that. Now, the rest of the functions on here really don't apply much, but you can play around with them if you want to kind of customize. Obviously, pedal 1 sensitivity is going to be the brake pedal sensitivity. So if we set it at 100, as soon as I touch the brake just a little bit, it's going to be full brake. If you don't like that, if you want it to take a little bit more travel before it kicks in, you're going to turn this down. And you can just do that by moving the joystick to the left or to the right. So we're going to leave this one at 3, but I'll show you the difference. I don't know if you'll be able to tell in the video so much, but in playability with your machine, you'll be able to tell the difference when you turn that sensitivity up or down. So I'm going to return to prior menu. I'm going to return to the game. I'm going to credit it up. And I'm going to start a game here, and I'll show you how it works. Probably turn it up a little bit for you. But I'm here to hit the gas here, and I can hit the shift. And you hear it shift up, shift down, and I can steer to the left or to the right. Now, if this feels too sensitive for you, what we can do is we can stop, and you can just leave the game run. It doesn't really matter. And we're going to get back into our menu, and I'm going to go into analog controls. And I'm going to go all the way down to the dial sensitivity or the wheel sensitivity, and I'm going to turn it down. Let's just turn it down to 1. I mean, that's the lowest it goes. Let's see what it does. And it might be hard for you to tell just on the video, but if you had the machine, I've got to turn the wheel considerably more now to be able to turn that same direction. And you can set it however you want. You can either have it, real sensitive, less sensitive. I actually prefer less sensitive because I like a lot more travel in the wheel. But that's basically how you set it up. So again, just going into input this game, configuring all your controls just like we went through, and then return to prior menu, go down to analog controls, and there you can get in and change the sensitivity and the amount of times that the machine actually reads the joystick's position or the wheel's position. Enjoy!